Hello, come on into the studio with me. We have a painting to start today, and in this video, I'm going to show you the whole process from start to finish of how this new painting was made. And I'm also going to talk about the number one question that I have been asked, and that question is about the style. Standing up close and right in front of this painting, you would be able to see many individual brush strokes. These are the marks that I've intentionally put into my last series of paintings. And there are several reasons for this that I wanted to tell you about today. Part of the reason for my style and brushwork is just because I have been working over the last several years on overcoming my perfectionism. I used to draw charcoal portraits and paint very smooth and try to get very lifelike, and I was more concerned with the accuracy and the likeliness. Likeliness, is that a word? I don't know. The way that it looked compared to, like the way that it looked compared to whatever my reference was, and trying to portray it exactly as I saw it. But over the last couple, like maybe 2 to 3 years, I've grown more concerned with capturing the feeling. I focus more on the way that the light is and the color, and I realized that the smooth and perfectionistic type of artwork is really not conducive to expressing all the things that I really want my paintings to convey. And so I used to kind of fight against letting these marks show. I used to smooth them out and blend them out. And then I realized that I didn't really have a reason to do that. I was talking to somebody at an exhibit over the weekend who was looking at my painting and was asking wonderful questions and seemed to really love the painting. And he was asking about if there was a name for this style or what this technique is called. And I don't actually know if this is a specific technique or if there's a name for it. The closest thing that I can think of would be pointillism. My paintings definitely have an impressionist style, but I don't strive for pointillism, which has more like round dots. These brush strokes just come out of me when I stop fighting against them and I just let my hand do its thing. So that is part of the reason why they're there. I've just stopped fighting and I'm learning to embrace my natural mark making and invite these brush strokes to come out as much as they want to. But there's another reason too, and this is an influence that I have the nerdy science part of my brain puts out. I was reading a couple books recently. Those of you who know me know I'm always reading. I love books, and I love all kinds of books. Last December, I read the book Breath by James Nestor, and there were some fascinating bits and pieces in that book. And one of the things that he talked about played on something that I've thought about ever since learning in science class as a kid about how everything is composed of matter and how matter is neither created nor destroyed. And so this quote is on page 192 of Breath. Nestor says, "Everything around us is composed of molecules, which are composed of atoms, which are composed of subatomic bits called protons, which have a positive charge, neutrons, no charge, and electrons, negative charge. All matter is, at its most basic level, energy." And I've been thinking lately about the idea of energy and of the type of energy that is within us as humans, but also things that we don't imagine having, some kind of lively energy, like the trees. I often think about the energy of the trees and even of inanimate objects like rocks that I see when I'm walking in the woods. And I can get a little woo-woo on this topic, but what comes to mind for me is what these particles actually look like. I think about myself as a human being made of these particles, so small and tiny, so small that most of us on a daily basis don't even really think about them at all. And I try to imagine my body and what it looks like made up of these little particles. If we zoom into things closer and closer and closer, we know our body is composed of cells, and our skin is made of cells, and the inside of our body is made of cells. And these cells are these tiny little things that if you're looking at one individual cell, it doesn't look anything like when you zoom back out and see an entire person's body altogether. But that's what composes it. And so I think about myself made of these small subatomic bits walking around in a space that is also composed of subatomic particles. And my mind just goes down this rabbit hole. So when I'm standing next to you, my subatomic particles are coexisting among the air between you and me. If we were to hold hands, all of those particles are connected and touching. What does that look like if we could zoom in as much as we could to the point where we lose sight of where I end and you begin? What do those bits look like when they're commingling in a space together? And so when it comes to these paintings of the woods and the light and the leaves, my mind just pictures them like the light is touching these trees and the leaves. And on one hand, I know that it's a visual thing, but I still like to imagine what does that look like, where instead of these individual trees and this light as a separate thing, if they're all one, all the energy of the light is reaching these trees and these leaves, and they are joining in with these subatomic particles mingling together to create this sort of magic that I see. And I just find that so fascinating. There is a scientist named, and forgive me if I might pronounce his last name wrong, but Albert Szent-Györgyi. And he said all living organisms are but leaves on the same tree of life. He also said the various functions of plants and animals and their specialized organs are manifestations of the same living matter. So when I read that quote, I was just thinking to myself, wow, I am not the only one who's thinking about these things. And there have got to be even more people that ponder this as well. Albert Szent-Györgyi wanted to know how life gained energy from air. So reading all of this excites me so much. This is the other reason why I paint the way that I do, because I just think about when I make these brush marks, they come out of me like that. In a way, they represent this energy, these particles of matter, and what the world could look like if we, remember that we are, on some level, all connected. Our subatomic particles are connected in some way, and we all of us have energy that influence each other. And this is huge to me, when I think about every single person in the entire world on some level is connected in this way. And I just love that. So that is the long answer to the question of why these brush marks are the way that they are in my paintings. Aside from my super nerdy deep dive into subatomic particles relating to my artwork, the other side of it is that I am what I call myself a recovering perfectionist, and this is because when I was studying art, I was taught to draw what I see, which I think was very important. And I think that laid a really strong foundation for my skills as an artist. To create art, it's really important to be able to see things and to be able to translate what you see in 3D onto a 2-dimensional surface if you want to be, someone who draws or paints. And so in my years of training, learning how to draw and paint, I was always trying to achieve a very lifelike, accurate representation of what I was drawing or painting. So this was great when I was learning to make things lifelike, when I was really into portraits and making them look like the people that they were, and learning all kinds of technical skills. But in the last bunch of years, it's become more important to me to express the feeling that I get from whatever it is that I am painting. And especially with the trees and the light, it is such a deep somatic feeling that I get being in the woods and seeing the light backlit, like streaming through the leaves and the trees and all the colors. And I really want to put that into my paintings, and that matters to me more than if I get each tree represented as it actually is. And I have learned that it's important as an artist to take some liberties with the composition to make the piece stronger visually and give the viewer a more delightful experience. The art tells more of a story. I am an artist, but I also am a person that has a lot going on. I'm a mom of 4 kids. I like to read a lot, and the books strongly influence my thoughts and what happens in my artwork. I have friends and family relationships that mean a lot to me and come out through some aspects of my artwork. I am strongly influenced by the beauty of nature, the things that I observe around me on a daily basis. And speaking of nature, it got so windy outside when I was painting. The wind blew my easel over. Thankfully, the painting was fine, and I was able to set it back up and continue painting outside for a little longer before I had to back it up. But anyway, we are all such deep people with lots of dimension and aspects to our lives. And those things are not separate from the work that we do and the creations that we make. And so these are all important things that need to come into my artwork and create more of that story, and also give connection points for the people that view my paintings, because a lot of that is relatable to other people who are going to come and view this painting. And I believe that when we see a piece of artwork that makes us stop and think, wow, I love that, or oh, that is so powerful, or oh, that's really pretty. Any reaction we have to a piece of artwork, part of it is the composition and the visual, technical things, but a lot of it is happening on a deeper level. And I don't think we always really know what's going on there, but I think when that happens, it's because on some deeper level, we connect with the artist and something that's going on in their life and some part of their story. And we maybe have an overlap in our own life that allows us to relate to them on that level. And I do think that comes through the art in ways that we can't put into words. So part of this progression for me in growing as an artist in this way is letting go of the need to keep things perfect and smooth and polished, and to take my skills and these techniques and the strengths that I have as an artist and use them in a more expressive and dynamic way. So instead of fighting against my natural mark making to try to make things overworked and smooth, I have been embracing what happens when I just let that go and what my hands do with the brush. And for me, these marks are just what comes out when I finally do let that perfectionism go and just really embrace like what happens naturally. So I guess in the way that a singer can kind of change his or her voice in some ways, but you always can tell when you're listening that it's them. It's the same for an artist, like the way that they use their tools and the marks that come out, maybe even to an extent, like some of the colors that they tend to go back to often are just their artistic voice. So with this series, I'm just letting that come out and exploring that and trying to celebrate that. So I work in lots and lots of layers, bit by bit, and it comes together over time. And it's really actually pretty neat for me to see what happens towards the later part of the painting compared to the beginning, because even I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I have a picture in my mind of how I want it to go, and I am controlling some aspects of it, but it's really impossible to know what it's going to look like until all those layers come. This painting has taken multiple days, and as you can see, I have stopped and come back on different days to resume the painting. And part of it is just my schedule, but also the paint needs some time to dry before I can begin other areas of it. And this piece was inspired by an area in my backyard. I have some woods back there, and there is also a boggy pond down there. And so I go for walks through those woods, and I can see at a certain time of day the way that the light looks when it's shining through there. And I really love that so much. This like place and this view has inspired many paintings already. So this piece is showing some of the water and some of the reflection of the sun on there, and the colors of the sky and the foliage and the tree. I've decided to title this piece Long Afternoons because it reminds me of that time during the summer when you might experience a day that just feels so long in a good way, and the sun is up in the sky very late into the evening, and it makes the afternoons feel long and relaxed. And it's one of those days where I feel like I could just stay out there forever. The painting is available for sale on my website at erinreinholtz.com if you are interested in owning this piece or any of my other artwork. I love how the painting came out. It just makes me really happy. If you'd like to stay connected with me, I invite you to subscribe to my newsletter. You can do that on my website. I send about one newsletter a month giving some info about what's going on behind the scenes in my studio, new artwork that I'm working on, events that are coming up, and the books that I'm reading. So if any of the books that I talked about today interest you, you might want to join the newsletter so that you can see all of the books that I read throughout the year. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for watching my video today. Please make sure you like and subscribe. I have a new video I'm working on that I'm looking forward to putting out here for you soon. Take care.